Alright, moving right along to my second Code Lyoko Q&A. Now, as always, guys, with these Q&As, if I didn't answer someone's question, that usually means either YouTube is being a dick and decided to either mark your question as spam or didn't even have it show up on my list. So I apologize in advance for that happening. I mean, it may show up for you guys, but it didn't show up for me. So I apologize if I didn't answer anyone's question. So let's kick things off with the Omnitron12345, who asks, what would happen if the Lyoko warriors were stuck in the digital world? Oh boy, Lyoko warriors stuck in the digital world. That would be something. I've kind of thought about doing a Code Lyoko Digimon crossover, but I didn't know what to do with it, because, like, the whole idea is that Xana finds his way to the digital world and finds the, you know, the data, at least the data remains of Diaboromon, and merges with it and becomes Xanamon. You have to understand that idea happened way back when I first got into Code Lyoko. But I don't know what it would be like for them. And depending on what version of the digital world, would it be what part, would it be like the digital world we saw in the first two seasons, or Digimon Tamers, or, there's been very different variations of the digital world, and it always seems to morph and change. So, but if I had any pick, I would have to pick, seasons 1 and 2. Anyway, so thank you for that question, Omnitron. Second one is, do you think the Matrix would make more sense if it was part of the Lyoko world? It kind of would. It really kind of would, but then again, it wouldn't really make sense. Or, what if Lyoko, if everyone on Earth is in Lyoko, and that's the world we see, that barren wasteland, and it's really, another part of Lyoko. Lyokoception. Blah! Blah! I'm gonna stop now. Anyway. Third question. If Ultron merged with Xana, and the Lyoko team got to pick the powers of the Avengers, who could you see being what Avenger? Okay, obviously Odd would get Hawkeye. He'd be obviously Hawkeye. I think Ulrich would gain like Thor's abilities. Yeah, let's go with Thor. Aelita, Black Widow, and Yumi. She kind of strikes me as the Iron Man type. And yeah, I already said Odd, so there you go. Those four right there. So think of those questions, Omnitron. Next set of questions come from Robert Afram, who asks, if you made a crossover for Code Lyoko and Sword Art Online, how would you make it happen, and what adventure would they go on? Unfortunately, I've only watched so little of Sword Art Online, because I've heard very, mixed things about it, so I don't know, I haven't really watched a lot of Sword Art Online. I might go back to it, but I haven't watched a lot of it to begin with. So, Sword Art Online, what I do know is that it's obviously kind of like the Lyoko feel. So what I would do is that maybe Xana infects the world of Sword Art Online and starts upgrading it from a medieval world to to more of his, the world like Carthage looks, and Lyoko warriors follow suit. I don't know, there's the idea. If Ulrich and William teamed up to fight Kinto, who would win? I'm guessing, Corinto is the guy from Sword Art Online. I don't really know, because I've seen some of his moves, and he's pretty badass, so might give it to him. Alright, your third question is, if the technology was real, could you go digitize yourself in the virtual world? What would you do in that world? I don't really know, because it doesn't look like there's a lot to do in that world other than get killed. I mean, all the worlds are like, man, not much to do here other than walk around or either get shot at by monsters. I don't know. So probably not. Think of those questions. Moving on to Andrew Varney, who asks, how would the Lyoko warriors react to Unicron, Baymax, the androids from Dragon Ball Z, Beamo, or Cyborg from Teen Titans? Okay, in that order, I would have to say Unicron, they'd all be fucked, because it's a planet-eating robot. Baymax, oh man, Odd would just be like, I want to stay here and hug him all day! Don't judge me. He's huggable. The androids, especially if Xana got a hold of them, oh man, we'd all be, depending on what, it doesn't matter which androids because they'd all fuck everything up, especially if it was 17 and 18. BMO, oh yeah, Odd would be playing BMO all day. And Cyborg and and Jeremy would be having a lot of conversations about science. Your second question is, what would Aelita think of Cortana from Halo? I think they would have a lot to talk about because obviously they're both, Aelita started out as a human being but then became an AI, while Cortana's always been an AI. Although, granted, I don't know what happened to her in Halo 4 because I haven't played Halo 4 or 5. Well, 5's coming out this year, I think. But yeah, I don't know what happened in Halo 4, but I think Cortana and Aelita would have a lot to talk about in terms of, wanting to experience more of the world. If we're going by Season 1, Aelita, that is. Alright, third question is, Xana meets the Daleks or Cybermen. How screwed is the universe? Very, because Xana can possess organic or mechanical objects. So, we'd be all very screwed. So, thank you for those questions. Andrew Varney, moving on to Christian Sager, who asks, how would you make a version of the Code Lyoko series that is more magic-based than science? I'm thinking MMO elves and wizards for this setting. Okay, basically, the question is, what if I could take Code Lyoko and make it more of a magic series? Like, set in medieval times, I guess. I think it would be interesting, set it, Xana is kind of like Sauron. Yeah, Xana would be this universe's Sauron, and Ulrich would be a ranger slash mercenary type character. Odd would be his version of Legolas, except a little more joking. Yumi would be elf. Aelita would be mage. Jeremy, I don't know, maybe a cleric. I don't know what you would make. Maybe you make William kind of like a ring wraith or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think that'd be really cool. I don't know what else you could. I think it'd be really cool to see a magic-based series around that. But I don't that's just the generalization of what I'd like to see from it. Anyway, and your second question is, what Xana monster would you have as a pet, and what would the name be? I would take one of the, what's the little one with the little head? With the, it's got the the little spider-looking one. I would take one of those and name him Squishy, and he would be my Squishy. Yes, I just made a Finding Nemo reference. Yeah. Alright, and your final question is, pick at least 4 YouTubers to be the next Lyoko Warriors, and what powers, weapons, costumes would they be? Okay, I'm going to pick the people I know. So, starting off with, going to go with Mount Vernon Kid. Yeah, Mount Vernon Kid would be... He's very much into the Code of the Samurai, so he'd be very much like a heavily armored samurai warrior, a huge Zambato, like clouds or something like that. There you go. So that would be Chris right there. Moving on now to another good friend of mine, Ivan Krolo, who is this... If you've ever seen Ivan Krolo's channel, Ivan is this very negative, dark humor kind of person, so I could see him like the Grim Reaper outfit and a scythe. That's what I think he would be more or less wearing. What else? Who else? I still got 2 more to go. Who else? Who else? Coolio-Vids, yeah, Coolio-Vids. Coolio-Vids, I imagine him with, Green Lantern-type costume. The powers he would have is something from, maybe a huge-ass Gatling gun. I don't know. Or, the mech armor we saw in what's it called? That terrible-ass movie, Matrix Revolution, that kind of suit of armor, I guess. And the last one, who would be the last pick for if I was the Jeremy of the group and I'd be sending these people to go fight constantly? I think my last one would be... damn it. Maybe James Brady. Yeah, James Brady would be the last one. I would make him this. He's very much into science fiction, so maybe I would make him all decked out in like a futuristic Iron Man like armor, and have his powers be rewriting the laws of physics like Grant Morrison, because fuck physics, motherfucker. Alright, so thank you for those questions, Christian Sager. Moving on to Major Badass, and Major Badass asks, what would you look like, and what skills and weapons would you want to have if you were able to go into Code Lyoko? I think what I'd like to have is maybe, maybe just drive around, I wouldn't have I would just have like this mech suit that would transform into a tank and just roll over everybody, just be like, tankity, 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 boom! Tankity, 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 boom! Alright. Who would you like to see the group meet? Well, I guess in terms of crossovers, who would I like to see the group meet? Well, I'd really like to see them, maybe hang out with the cast of Hey Arnold. That would be a lot of fun. I mean, especially, they don't really do, the Lyoko crew deals with the relationship problems on a daily basis. The only time you see relationship problems happen there is either with the coach and his wife, that usually becomes his ex-wife sometimes, and Helga's, Helga's obsession with Arnold. But I would, I think that would be a really fun mixture of the two. I think Stinky and Odd would be causing all kinds of problems. Ulrich and Arnold would just be face-palming at everything they did. Yumi, I think, would be good for. I think Sissy and Rhonda would be good. Would be BFFs. Sissy and Rhonda would be totally BFFs. I don't know about who would be Yumi's friend. Maybe. Well, I think Jeremy would be friends with Phoebe, and everyone would hate Eugene. Anyway, same with that question. And your final one is, what other evil or dangerous digital character would Xana have problems with if they had to compete with each other? I guess in terms of evil AIs, it would have to be someone like Clue, Clue from the Tron Legacy movie. Maybe even Diaboromon or Charubimon from the Digimon series. Maybe even the Digimon Emperor too, but then he turned out to be good, so maybe, I don't know, the D-Reaper. Yeah, the D-Reaper would probably give him the most trouble. So think of those questions, Major Badass, and now moving on to Burnouter 7. First question is, based on their personalities, what kind of Pokemon would each Lyoko warrior have? Ooh, I love this question! I love this question! Okay, who would the Lyoko warriors have in terms of Pokemon? Well, I imagine Ulrich would have a Scyther. Yeah, he screams like he would have a Scyther. And a Hitmonlee. And he would train with the Hitmonlee, he would spar with it. Because Savat, if I remember right, Savat, the French martial arts style he's trained in, as well as, and there's another one he trained in, but he trained in Savat as well. It involves a lot of kicking, so I think he would do a lot of sparring with Hitmonlee. But yeah, I could see a lot of fighting-type Pokemon with him. And, obviously Scyther's an insect, but it can count as a fighting type, I think. So yeah, Ulrich would have some fighting-type Pokemon. Yumi, she'd have an Espeon. There's no doubt. She seems like a character that would have an Espeon. Yeah, definitely an Espeon. And maybe, she would have all the evolved forms of Eevee, all the Eeveelutions. Aelita? Aelita would so have a Vulpix. Yeah. As well as all the cute she would have cute Pokemon like Oddish, Vulpix, Schnabel, those kind of Pokemon. Odd? I don't know what Odd would have. Maybe some Bug-type Pokemon, or... No, he would have a Mr. Mime, now that I think about it. Or maybe a Houndoom to replace Kiwi if this is the Pokemon world. For Jeremy would have some, I would imagine him with Magnemite flying over his shoulder all the time, or a Voltorb. Maybe even what's the other machine type Pokemon I'm thinking of? Even he would strike me as a psychic type Pokemon he would have around. Maybe have like a Kadabra psychically moving all of his stuff for him. And yeah, I've already said yeah, those four. And for Sissy strikes me as like she would have, I don't know, what's that Pokemon's name? The really prissy looking one. Yeah, there's a lot of them that look like that, I know. I think Sissy would have a Wigglytuff. Yeah. She strikes me as that. Or a Clefairy. Either one of those two. So thank you for that question. Moving on to your second question, Burnouter. On a scale of 1 to 100, how bad would it be if Xana took control of the Dragon Zord or Mechagodzilla 3? You mean Kiyu. Okay. Dragon Zord or Kiyu are together. It would be, on a scale of 1 to 100, it would be over 9,000! Enough said. Alright, fuck, marry, kill. Yumi, Aelita, Sissy. Man, this feels kind of awkward because I'm a little too old for these girls. But let's say, like, hypothetically, let's make them older, okay? Let's make them a little older. Kill Sissy, fuck Yumi, and marry Aelita. There you go. Alright. Thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Cody Bradish, who asks, what is your favorite season of Code Lyoko? Okay, my favorite season of Code Lyoko has to be Season 2. Season 2 because, well, Season 2 and 3 because a lot of it delved into a lot of Aelita's backstory, and I thought that was really interesting, as well as I think Xana had some really interesting plots in Season 2 and 3 because, you know, we had the zombie story, we had several other stories here and there, and it really, I think it got a little more cohesive, because the first season, when you look at the first season, it's a little messy, isn't it? But I think once they got Aelita out of Lyoko, I think it got a little more cohesive, you know what I mean? Anyway, thank you for that question. Moving on to your second question. Who is your favorite character in Code Lyoko? I really much like all the characters, including Sissy. I like Sissy as well. She has her moments of being absolute bitch mode, but it's not like absolutely, like, I don't hate her on the same level as I hate Robbie from Gravity Falls. I don't have that same level of hate for her. It's almost like she reminds me a lot of Rhonda from Hey Arnold. Again, that comparison going back from earlier, like I said. She reminds me a lot of Rhonda, really. Being like the lioness of the group, but she does have her bitch moments, but it's a little more hilarious, really. It's very hilarious. It's almost like she's a mixture of Rhonda and Sonata Dusk from Rainbow Rocks. That's what she really reminds me of. Rhonda and Sonata put together. I don't know what you would call that, honestly. Alright, your final question is, one day Aelita comes across a giant egg, which then hatches into baby Godzilla, later on known as Godzilla Jr. Their interactions do their interactions break into adorable scale? Yes, they do. Because if it's anything like, you know, the Minya from, you know, the Heisei era, it would be adorable. But it would also look kind of like let's face it, guys. The Heisei Minya, especially in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla, the Minya that Minya looked bad, didn't it? That costume just looked like oversized green Barney, didn't it? But yeah, then he got badass in Godzilla vs. Destroya, so that compensated. Sorry, I had to get some water. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Cody Bradish. Moving on now to Alistair Boneman, who asks, what if the team found a friendly program in the computer and, like the pink-haired chick, that's Aelita, and they managed to get it into the real world? How would you write this new being, and what personality would you give it? Okay, you're basically asking if there was another being like Aelita that was a good program, well, Aelita turned out to be a real person, but I think what I would do with this thing is that it's a program that, like an antivirus that was made to combat Xana, but Xana grew too powerful for it, and it gained a physical body, unlike Xana, which was everywhere, and it kind of roamed around. And I would give it more like, he would be kind of like Baymax, where he's adorkable, where he's very sweet, but he's also not very, he doesn't really know what's going on. He'd be very much, I'd make him a lot like Baymax, really. So there you go. Second question, what if the team came across an even worse computer villain than Xana, say like an alien computer thingy? Yes, he said thingy, not my words. No offense, Boneman. Would Xana and the team ally themselves to fight a new threat? I think that's possible. I mean, that would be really cool to see like an alien, AI show up and, I mean, yeah, it's a show about kids going into a virtual reality and how to stop it is resetting time, traveling back in time. Maybe have it that, this alien AI was the forerunner to Xana. Like, that's how the whole time travel thing really works. Because they got the technology from Xana. This Xana thing was actually, the human version of this alien AI. All right. What would Xana make of versions of AI, good or bad? The Geth and Reapers from Mass Effect, Skynet, The Matrix, etc. Xana doesn't really care what side you're on. To Xana, it's everyone's a pawn. So especially the Reapers and the Geth would be under his control quickly. Skynet, I don't really know. Same with the Matrix as well. Because they're, sentient AIs as well, so I think there'd be a battle for dominance there, if anything else. Alright. If a live-action movie was made, who would you cast to play the Lyoko Warriors? I don't really know, and besides, I kind of actually like it better that they're animated. I know someone asked me about Code Lyoko Evolution, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I would actually prefer it was animated. And I'm not really good with casting to begin with, so sorry, I can't really help you there. I'm not really good with casting at all, especially when it comes to these characters, because it's really hard to find good young actors. You know what I mean? Although I wouldn't. Maybe I would, if anything, I would probably cast Colton Hayes, the actor who plays Roy Harper in Arrow, as Ulrich. There you go. But that's about it. Alright, second question. What would happen if the Lyoko Warriors fought against Hydra, the Masters of Evil, Sinister Six, Decepticons, Cobra, and the Galactic Empire? Okay, Galactic Empire, they would lose. Cobra, lose. The Decepticons, they would have some help with the Autobots in case unless Xana controlled both the Decepticons and the Autobots. The Sinister Six, yeah, maybe they would have a chance there. The Masters of Evil, it depends on what lineup you're going with the Masters of Evil. If it's people like the Red Skull, Mandarin, Doom all together, there's a problem. And Hydra, even if they managed to beat Hydra, Hydra would just keep coming back. So it would be a loss to them eventually. In short, it would not. If they ran into any of these people, they would be crushed. So thank you for those questions, Darth Venom. Moving right along to Alex Inayez, who asks, what would happen if Xana's monsters managed to get out into the virtual world and into the real world and cause a new world war? Well, they kind of are. There was an episode in Season 1 finale where Xana actually got some of his monsters to go virtualize into the real world. So, if there was a full-scale invasion, there would be a major problem. But then again, it depends on how powerful. We don't really know how powerful Xana's monsters are. Could they stand up to the U.S. military? I don't know. Or any military, because obviously they'd be coming from they'd be invading France first. So, but then obviously so obviously they have to be fighting the French military first. But then, people will be thinking it's an alien invasion, not from an internet world. So, yeah, the British, the Russian, the U.S., all of them would be fighting there. I don't know, but we don't really know how strong those monsters are in the real world, honestly, even though we already know that they kind of virtualized themselves at the end of Season 1. Anyway, alright. If Xana had a choice to choose one Godzilla kaiju, which one would work with him and why? Gigan, Mecha King Ghidorah, or Mecha Godzilla? It doesn't really matter because Xana can easily take over someone's mind. Even they can't really fight out of that possession unless they've been in Lyoko. He can't really take them over. Although that kind of changes in some seasons, but that's neither here nor there. I think he would definitely take control of Mecha King Ghidorah. That guy has some serious firepower. And your final question is, Xana and Skynet, a new OTP or not? I'm going to have to say no TP, as I always say when I run out of toilet paper. No TP. So I'm going to have to say a no, because those two would be fighting it out, and they don't really have any concept of love anyway, so they'd be like, what is this love? Is it another word for war? I think so. Rawr! End scene. I need to stop doing that, I really do. Because now even I find that annoying. Alright. Thank you for those questions, Alex Anayas. Moving on now to Fire Tools, who asks, what fictional villain organization from any comic book anime skilled in cyber tactics, would you like to see the Lyoko Warriors fight? I'd like to see them... Actually, AIM would be a really good threat to the Lyoko Warriors, because they're always looking for advancement in science, and I think that, they would try to capture Xana, and MODOK would make a really interesting villain for the Lyoko Warriors to fight as well. So definitely AIM. Alright. And your second question is, what if Lyoko and Xana found themselves in the world of Ghost in the Shell? What damage could Xana enact, and would Section 9 stop him? Well, Xana could easily take control of anything in that universe. Even the Major would be susceptible to his control. Unless she has some... Because I've never really seen anyone break out of that control from willpower. So, that's a really tough one to call, unfortunately. I don't know. That would be an interesting crossover, absolutely. Maybe they went, instead of back to the Return to the Past, they went back to the future. I couldn't help it, sorry. Anyway, that'd be an interesting crossover, no doubt. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Fire Tools. Now moving on to Travis Rendon, who asks, do you prefer William being Xana's puppet, or do you think he should have stayed as a member of the Lyoko team as well? I would have liked to seen him as a Lyoko warrior. I think he would have been an interesting member to the team. Have another swords member. I think him and Ulrich's rivalry would have grown because they're both, Yumi. They're both vying for Yumi's attention, and I think that would even grow more. But then again, I really don't like love triangles, so maybe I wouldn't have that in there. But I think he should have been a Lyoko warrior instead of being like the Herald of Xana, as I called him. Yeah, I called him the Herald of Xana because he was like Xana's general, really. But anyway, so yeah, that's what I think I would have preferred him as a hero more. So anyway, your second question is, if you could create a monster for Xana's army, what would it look like and what would it be its name? Okay, I think I would make like what would be a good-looking monster for Xana to use? I think what I would like to use is a maybe like a bat-like monster, like something that looks like a bat and has a sonic scream, or yeah, something with a sonic scream. Call them Nocturnes. There you go, Nocturnes. Yeah, bat monsters. I think that would be really interesting. Or maybe like scorpion-like monsters with, instead of stingers, they have they have the lasers, and their claws can easily like break the Lyoko warriors' weapons, and just call them scorpions. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Oh wait, you got one more. Sorry. Oh wait, I already answered this. If you were in Lyoko, what would be your weapons and armor, etc.? Kinda already answered this, Travis. So sorry. But anyway, thank you for those questions. Moving on now to Matt Kaiser 08, who asks, Xana versus Brainiac, who would win? Who would win in a fight between Xana and Brainiac? I don't really know, because Xana can control both technological and organic forms, whereas Brainiac can only control inorganic forms, so I might give it to Xana. But then again, Brainiac might be able to pull a fast one on Xana. Who knows? Anyway, thank you for those questions, Matt Kaiser 08. Oh wait, sorry, you have one more question. Aside from the main cast of Code Lyoko, what other group of animated superheroes, anime or otherwise, do you see challenging Xana? Group of young superheroes animated. I think that would be really cool if you had them fight the... Xana would be an interesting Kim Possible villain. I mean, she's gone to virtual worlds before, so that would be a possibility. Or have it tie in with Totally Spies. There was actually... I heard rumors that there was supposed to be a Code Lyoko Totally Spies crossover because they were both under the same company. I think that would have been cool. So yeah, maybe Totally Spies would have been a good one. So thank you for those questions, Matt Kaiser 08. Moving on now to the Spawn 117, who asks, what would happen if Lyoko crew were in the grid? I'd love to see their... the only thing I can think of right now is how cool a Lyoko version of the Tron costumes would be. Man, I can't even imagine what that would look like. And also, Ulrich and Odd and the rest of the group in the games. That'd be a lot of fun, until they realize, oh wait, we can die here and not come back. Alright, what would happen if the Lyoko crew met the Guardians of the Galaxy, RoboCop, and Judge Dredd? The Guardians of the Galaxy, Odd and Rocket would not get along. They'd constantly be bickering. Groot would be, all kinds of fun, and Star-Lord would, Peter would be like looking at Ulrich and looking at Yumi and be like, are you guys dating or not? I don't know. I mean, if you were older, Yumi, I'd hit that in a second, but yeah. And also, you're taller than him. Same with that other girl, that loudmouth girl. Are girls in France just big? I don't know. I mean, you're Japanese, but you're just short, dude. You're like tiny short. And Gamora and Yumi, and I think Gamora would teach Yumi some fighting moves. RoboCop, yeah, Xana would be taking over RoboCop, and as well as those those ED drones. That would be terrifying. And for Judge Dredd, he would look at the kids and be like, breaking curfew is against the law. 6 months in a science cell. Alright, and your third question is, what do you think if the Lyoko crew had all upgrades like wearing more protective armor? Okay. If they were wearing more I think the armor they would have is something along the lines of, like, first with Ulrich. Ulrich, I could see, like I said with earlier, would probably have more like a Bushido armor, like traditional samurai armor. Yumi's armor would probably be something along the lines of, maybe like I could see like an Iron Man type armor for her, better yet, get Konoichi ninja costume with body armor instead. That looks like Kevlar. Odd, maybe Kevlar armor as well, but with a more lion feature to it. I don't know what you could do with that. Aelita, maybe have like medieval armor, like the whole, because she's got the whole angel thing vibe going for her in her upgraded costume. So maybe give her the like medieval armor that makes her look like Joan of Arc or an archangel or something. There you go. Same with those questions. The Spawn 117. Moving right along to Jason Voorhees 2011, who asks, what would happen if Ultron or Skynet got their hands on Xana? How screwed would Aelita and the others be? And, alright, so basically you're asking, what would happen? I've already answered, Skynet or Ultron got their hands on Xana. Well, the first question you gotta ask is, could they control Xana? That's the big thing, because Xana might be able to control them. If not fuse with them and create Xanatron or Xananet. Yeah, I know, dumb fusion names, but we've heard worse, admit it. So, that'd be interesting. I don't know how they would combat that, honestly. I really don't know. So, it would... I've always thought of doing a Terminator or, at least a Terminator Code Lyoko crossover. I always thought of doing that. Of, doing that somehow, of like saying Xana infected Skynet, but Skynet turned on him, and corrupted it and absorbed it, and then have it that the Terminator is trying to kill a Terminator sent back to kill all the Lyoko Wars because they grow up to be members of John Connor's resistance. But however, you have Ulrich go back in time, future Ulrich go back in time and save his friends and himself. There you go. So thank you for that question, Jason Voorhees. Moving right along to Andre Partridge, who asks, what will happen if Xana takes over the Matrix? I kind of already answered this already, if could Xana take over the Matrix or not, but yeah. Alright, so I'm going to have to skip that, sorry. Moving right along to your next question, who is your least favorite character in the show? Like I said before, I don't really have a least favorite character. Well, I'll have to admit, one character I just don't care about is Herb and Nicholas, Sissy's cohorts. Not cohorts, minions, that's a better word. Because they were just so goddamn annoying. They're just very one-note. Sissy at least got some character moments here and there. Nicholas and Herb just can go fucking die, for all I care. So there you go. If I had to pick anyone, Nicholas and Herb. Go die. Those characters can go die. Third question. How would you write a Code Lyoko movie if you had the chance? I think how I would write it, is maybe have it that the Lyoko warriors have grown up and moved on with their lives, but Xana has come back some way or another, and now their kids have to deal with the situation. Something like that, maybe. I don't know exactly, but maybe something like that. Alright, moving right along to... Think of those questions, Andre. Moving right along to Sonic Halo, who asks, what would Aelita think of Nicole from the Sonic Archie comics? I think they get along. I think since they have they've had shared lives, I think it would be something to be interested. I think that'd be an interesting interaction. What would Xana think of the Tails doll, Metal Sonic, and Eggman in a team-up scenario? There is no teaming up with Xana. You're either in the way or a pawn to Xana. So everything Xana sees that's metallic or organic is him to either destroy or control. That's how he pretty much sees the world. So there would be no team-up scenario with Xana. Alright. Okay, and your final question is, what would Jeremy and the gang think of Shard, the Metal Sonic, and Eggman? I think Shard would terrify, that Metal Sonic would terrify them, and Eggman, at first, they would be like, oh man, look at this fat motherfucker. Oh, he's got a giant robot, run. That would probably be Odd's reaction, to any further extent. Alright, thank you for those questions. Sonic Halo, moving right along to OverNerd03, who asks, did you watch Code Lyoko Season 5 / Evolution, and what are your thoughts on it? Okay, what did I think of Code Lyoko Evolution? I kind of thought, what was the point, really? Because why suddenly go from an animated show to a live-action show? It's kind of like in the Ben 10 movie, live-action movies, like, why didn't you just do it animated? I mean, yeah, I know animation has a budget, but still, you still had the 3D animation for the show. Why suddenly did you decide, hey, I know a good idea, let's just make everything live action and make the characters bland and have them played by terrible actors and have them have a 3D world that looks worse than the first time around? I don't know. What was that's my big thing. My big thing is that why have it, live action in the first place when the past 4 seasons were animated? I really don't get that. Why the sudden change? And not to mention, all the characters were, all the actors were just kind of bad. I mean, if anyone out there likes Code Lyoko Evolution, I bear no ill will against you. Me personally, as a Code Lyoko fan, I just prefer the animated version a bit more. Anyway, so thank you for that question. And your second question is... Oh, wait, yeah. Here it is. What do you think Xana monsters were in the end? What do you think Xana's motives were in the end? Do you think he was doing what he was programmed to do, or ruling the world as the viewers believed? I don't know, because they've left... I wish there was more stuff to Xana. I really do. That's another thing I would have liked to see them expand upon, is more stuff with Xana. I would have really liked to have seen more stuff with Xana. I think that would have been an interesting way to go. I mean, there was so much potential with him. I think maybe he's kind of like... I kind of imagine him as Ultron, where he was meant to protect people, but then decided, humans are kind of shitty, I'm going to wipe them out. That's how I'm going to do this. So thank you for that. So that's how I think it is. And do you think Code Lyoko will return for a season 6? I'd like it to be, but if it is, can we go back to animation? Please? Please? Anyway, thank you for those questions, OverNerd03. And your final... Oh, wait, yeah, those were your questions. Moving right along to Wolfman the Impaler, who asks, how would the Lyoko Wars react to Ultron and Venjix? Well, I've kind of answered the Ultron one. Venjix, on the other hand, Venjix would be Xana 2.0. And Venjix got shit done in Power Rangers RPM. Let's face it. That motherfucker did what no other Power Rangers villain could do. Wiped out humanity and left all but one little city, like Mega City 1. So I think Venjix would be a more savage version of Xana. Like, he would be... You know, this guy would be thinking on a whole other kind of level. Yeah. So they'd be terrified. So, next question is, Xana takes control of the Machine Empire. What happens? From Power Rangers Zeo. Yikes. Just yikes. Because, unlike, you know, we see all the, you know, that army on the moon of the Machine Empire, but we never see them, you know, invade. Xana would tell them, go down there and kick some ass. Okay, boss. Beep, beep. Because that robot's beep, beep. I don't know, I'm going to stop. As you can tell, I'm having a little too much fun with this Q&A and the previous one. And your final question is, out of the main cast, who do you think would watch Team 4 Star's videos? Do I have to say it, Wolfman? Let's face it, we all know, in fact, we all know out of who would be watching Team 4 Star's videos, you know, DBZ Abridged. Odd. Odd would be sitting around watching that and then quoting it constantly like, you gotta get back, come on, Ulrich, you gotta get back on the horse and eat it. Eat that horse with me, Ulrich. Odd, shut the fuck up. That's what probably would happen. That would probably happen. So thank you for those questions, Wolfman the Impaler. Moving right along to Driving H001. Hope I said that YouTube name right. How would you do a Code Lyoko series, and would it be a comic or a cartoon? I would have liked to done a cartoon, animated wise, but as a comic, I'd be fine either way. I think, like I said, I would make them, like I said for the movie idea, I think I would make them just a little bit older, and maybe have them be a little bit, or maybe have the next generation, Gola the Legend of Korra vibe, possibly. So thank you for that question. Moving right along to Slade Ick. I hope I'm saying that name right, Slade Ick. His first question is, what would it be like if the Lyoko War, if Code Lyoko mixed with Steven Universe? As a crossover? Okay. Odd and Amethyst would get into so much trouble. Pearl would... I could imagine Ulrich training with Garnet. Yeah, Ulrich and Garnet would be training together. Jeremy and Pearl would be talking about, you know, the difference between magic and science and getting into arguments about it. And, you know... oh yeah, Steven would get into so much trouble with Odd as well. And Connie and Yumi would be face-palming at the whole situation. I already answered who's your favorite least Lyoko character, Code Lyoko character, which is, like I said, Nicholas and Herb. And your final question is, do you think the show will ever return? I would love to see it return, animated-wise, mind you, because I felt like the live-action thing kind of was like, what was the point after doing 4 seasons of animated? It just felt kind of like it was trying too hard to be different. That's, I think, what really hurt with Evolution. It tried to be too different from the formula. You know what I mean? So I'd love to see it return, but have it go back to, you know, as Norman Osborn said in Spider-Man, back to formula. So, yeah, I'd love to see it return. So, yeah, I think that's all the questions. Once again, if I did not answer someone's question, I'd like to apologize. That usually means, once again, YouTube was being a total dick. Either mark it as spam on my end, or have it, not even show up on my list on my end. So I apologize for that. Once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.